Today we're talking about the Holocaust. Now, the Holocaust is now there's a Holocaust, a definition, and then there's the Holocaust that we refer to what happened during World War II to the Jews of Europe and what Hitler did to them. The final solution, what Hitler called the final solution, was basically the systematic elimination of the Jewish community, not just as a belief system, not just as a culture, but as a people. And they would begin by trying to take away their jobs, canceling them, uh, getting them into trouble, harassing them. And then it started evolving into the Night of the Broken Glass, which was called Kristallnacht, which means night of glass. And so they would break their windows, they would smash all their belongings, ruin their businesses, make it impossible for them to earn a living. They also mandated that the Jewish people would wear these Jewish stars to identify themselves so that people would know that they're Jews and look down upon them and make them feel tiny. And then they started moving them into ghettos to make sure that they lived in slums and lived as bad of a lifestyle as possible. It was getting so bad that people of Britain tried buying the transport of children to get them out of this terrible condition. Uh, and they were able to get 10,000 of them between 3 and 17 out of Germany. But there's two things. There's a lot of kids that were left behind, a lot of people that were left behind. And of these 10,000, about 2,000 were able to be reunited with their family. The rest they would never see again. And there's real no pretty way to put this. But what the Germans did to the Jewish community was to take them, put them in what's called concentration camps. Remember, we talked about internment camps in America over here, what we did with the Japanese. This is what, the Germans, the Jewish people thought it was going to be something like this, where they're just going to have to stay somewhere until the war was over, and then things would go back to normal. But the Germans were not going to do that. Um, they would put them into these concentration camps, made them work free labor, and eventually they were just going to eliminate them. Some people tried to fight back. They would join resistance groups. They would try to flee the country and join foreign armies to come back and fight to try to get the Jews out of this situation. Many of them just tried to hide. One of the more famous people that hid from the Nazis was Anne Frank. Um, the diary of Anne Frank. She kept a journal of what she was going through, and gave a first-hand account. It is a heartbreaking diary of this little girl who lived through the tragic time in Nazi Germany as a Jew. And it is a very important book. At some point, it really should be read by everybody to see what was going on during this time. Um, Germany began to realize in 1945 that they were losing the war, and all the things that they did to the Jews in these concentrations, they tried to hide it, they tried to cover it up. But as the Soviets and the Americans and the British poured through Germany in the final days, they would discover things like this. These are shoes of just mountains of shoes that were taken from people who were sent to concentration camps. That's a lot of people. It's hard to fathom what really happened here, but we estimate more than 11 million people were murdered by the Nazis. 6 million were Jews, and it's over half of just regular citizens that were murdered by the Nazi Germany, by Nazi Germany. So yeah, that's the Holocaust. This is why World War II is just such a classic case of good and evil duking it out. Yeah, we weren't perfect. We did our own thing here, but nothing. I mean, nothing like what was going on in Germany.